Good morning guys, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the new GT86 from Toyota. Now this car has got all of the ingredients to be a fun little coupe. It's small, lightweight, a very low centre of gravity, and most importantly, it's rear wheel drive. Now the question I need to ask really is, because it's under 200 brake horsepower, is it still going to be fun? Do you need lots of power to make this a great car? We're going to have a look around the outside, the inside, and most importantly, take it out on the road. Toyota have made some fantastic sports cars. Certainly growing up in the 80s and 90s, I had the likes of the MR2, the Toyota Celica. Now the one I really wanted was the Toyota Supra. Now they decided late 90s, early 2000s, they'd focus more on your traditional family cars, your hatchbacks, your town cars. So they stopped making any sports cars. After a while they realised they did need to do something about this. They needed to add some excitement back into the brand. So they tasked one of their chief chassis designers. They said to him, right, design me a fun car. And this here, the GT86, is exactly what came of that. This car has been heavily influenced by three other sports cars Toyota has made in the past. We've got the AE86, the 2000 GT, and the 800 Sport. But from a design point of view, I think the 2000 GT has had the biggest impact on this car. Interestingly, when they were actually designing the car and they had the clay models laid out, they actually had a 2000 GT parked next to it. They didn't say to the designers, right, copy that line, I like that bit. They just left it there, and subliminally some of the design cues have actually gone into this car. We've got, on this newer model, we've got the 10-spoke 17-inch alloys. Now you'd expect the front wheels to be these thick, grippy tyres, but they're not. They're actually tyres off a Toyota Prius. Now we need to have a chat about the engine, because that is something, well, quite unexpected. The latest facelifted version of this GT86 isn't hugely different on the outside, although we do have LED headlights and the indicators are integrated within the same unit. But what we do need to have a talk about is the engine, because it's got rather an interesting history. When designing the GT86, Toyota knew they needed a great handling car, and to do that you want a nice low centre of gravity, and to achieve this they've actually teamed up with Subaru and used their flat 4 Boxster engine. It's the same one found in the Subaru Impreza minus the turbo. Now Toyota used their very complicated 4DS injection system, and between the two of them and a lot of work, that's the engine you've got under here. It's 197 brake horsepower and 150 foot-pound of torque. So it's not a huge amount of power, but we'll take this out on the road and we're going to see, is that engine enough to basically have some fun out on the road. Bit of pub craze trivia here. The engine has got a bore and stroke of 86mm, but the thing I find interesting, maybe a bit geeky, is the twin exhausts at the back have also got an 86mm diameter. I find that interesting, you guys might not, but unfortunately you know that fact now. The new version of this car has got the spoiler as a separate piece, so it can be taken off as a no-cost option. Personally, I'd leave it on because I think it just adds a little bit more to it. In the back we've got actually a reasonable sized boot. You could probably fit a week's worth of shopping, possibly a suitcase at a push. So it is a bit practical as well. It's a 2+2 at the end of the day. So overall, I think this car is actually pretty good looking. But what we really need to do, this is a driver's car. Let's go and hop in and take this on the road. Welcome to the inside of the GT86. Now I'm only going to have a quick run over what's inside this car because I want to drive it at the end of the day. This is a real driver's car. So over on the left, the gearbox, we've got a 6-speed manual. They do offer a automatic, but personally I think this is the better option. We've got track mode, which turns all the stability control, traction control off, or you can just turn traction control off. The great thing about this car, Rear wheel drive, and it's got a torsen mechanical limited slip diff. They didn't want to go for the electronic version because they said it didn't react quick enough. So absolutely perfect. This should be quite a lot of fun, especially with those skinny wheels. We've got a nice small steering wheel. It's actually the smallest steering wheel Toyota do in the entire range. Infotainment system, that's okay. I wouldn't say it's great. It's a bit dated and can do with a refresh. If I'm being honest, we've got air conditioning or twin climate control. Lovely, lovely bucket supportive seats. Great view out the front. What more could you want? I think really we need to stop the talking and take this thing out on the road. Well, we've had a look around the outside of this car and I think it looks absolutely fantastic, but more importantly, I think we actually need to see what this thing is like out on the road. And typically it's absolutely chucking it down. I think this might be a good test for see what this chassis is actually like. I can turn traction control, stability control and everything else off, but at the moment I'm really not sure that's a good idea. It'll be fine on wide, well, probably not on the road at all. On the track I think it'll be a huge amount of fun, but at the moment, nah, not gonna happen. We've got these quite thin tyres on here, which are the same size as the Toyota Prius. And there's no way with rear wheel drive, thin tyres, I'm going to be doing anything silly in this car. It might not be hugely powerful, but I think at the moment I'm quite happy it's not. It's, well, it's ridiculous. It's turned into a bit of a monsoon more than anything. So let's have a chat and see what this car is really like out on the road. We've got these nice twisty back roads that are around me, so it's absolutely perfect for any test drives. And traction control was on, everything's flashing at me. I'm glad that was on because, well, this car is a bit tail happy to say the least, but I think that's one of the joys of actually owning a car, certainly owning this one. That's the way they've designed it. So Toyota have said it's a driver's car at the end of the day. And we need to find out if that's actually the case. Is it something they've just said in the marketing material? Yes, this is a great handling car, it's a driver's car. There's one thing reading about it and another thing actually putting this into action. The proof is in the pudding, they say. Let's start looking at this car from the driver's point of view. As soon as you step into this car, things are very, very good. You step into these absolutely wonderful, aquaplaning, you may hear a bit of that. Yeah, the seats in here, they're these wonderful supportive Recaros. They really do hug you in tight. One question I wanted to really know then was, having under 200 brake horsepower, can you still have fun, or do you need 400 or 500 horsepower? Well, let's see. We're gonna find yeah, bit of rear wheel drive sliding action going on there with all of the stability and traction control turned on, but that's down to these skinny wheels that are actually on here, and also the fact it's rather wet. So already it's looking good on being fun. Let's try and get back to being sensible. The engine itself is the love child of Subaru and Toyota. So we've got the flat 4 Boxer engine that appeared in the older generation of Subaru Impreza, but taken out the turbo, and direct and multi-point injection system from Toyota. So we've got 197 brake horsepower, 150 foot-pound of torque, all being driven through the rear wheels by this rather fantastic 6-speed manual box. To keep you on the road and to get this power down, we've got an absolutely fantastic torsen limited slip diff. Now they were going to go for an electronic one, but they decided mechanical it just reacted better. It was quicker and snappier, so they've gone for that. 60 time, 7.6 seconds. So, like I said, it doesn't sound absolutely incredible on paper, but get in this thing and it's great fun. It really, really is. You can be driving at 8/10, absolutely no problem on the public road. And I'm sure you can't do that with something if it had 300 or 400 brake horsepower. It really is miles per hour. The instrument cluster on this car is very well laid out. It's quite simple. Directly ahead of me, and probably the most important bit, we've got a large rev counter, and just off to one side of that you've actually got a digital speedo as well. Now the nice thing Toyota have done with this, maximum power comes around 6.5 to 7.5 red line. So you really do need to wring this thing's neck in order to get the best out of it. But the 7,000 RPM red line is exactly 12 o'clock. So you can really be pushing on, not have to worry about too much. See 12 o'clock come up, bang, change gear. And I think that's a really nice touch. Left hand side we've got your more traditional speedo, and then the right hand side you've got the trip computer. And at the moment I've got it with G-forces, very exciting. We've also got lap times, we've also got a torque curve and power, so you can see where you're going to make maximum power and where it's going to drop off. It's a bit unusual with this engine, the fact that there's this big drop between 3 and 4,000. The graph, normally you'd expect it to go up in a nice smooth curve, but this one goes up, drops down quite significantly, and then back up again. They've obviously designed that for a reason. I'm just not sure what that reason is. While this car certainly has got some very good pros, but there are some definite cons to this car. Bit slippery there. So the cons. The engine in this I really like. It's got plenty of power at the top end, but it's the dip in the middle of the power and torque at 3 to 4,000 RPM that it just needs something a bit more in there. Whether it's just a remap, I don't know. More torque in it would just make it that little bit easier to drive, certainly when you don't always want to be on it all the time. So that's the first thing. Second thing is a pro and a con really. These thin tyres, they are brilliant when you want to have a bit more fun. It makes the back of this car a bit more loose, a bit more playful. But in this awful weather, it does make it, well, makes you a bit nervous at times. I've left traction on, stability, but the level of grip is quite low. So that's the second thing. Third thing, the interior, most of the touch points are really nice. We've got sort of a fake suede effect over here. All of the touch points are really good. It's just some of the other instrumentation that's possibly could do with a bit of a refresh. This infotainment system is a bit 90s, I suppose, and some of the switch gear as well. But everything that you want it to from a driver's point of view, I think it's really good. Other than that, I'd say this is a fantastic car. Price-wise as well, this is the Pro model and it's 29,000. So that's possibly quite a lot as well. So this, I think, being a little bit cheaper would be better, but other than that, you're getting, I suppose, a rear-wheel drive car with a proper mechanical slip diff. It's fun for 29. That's my opinion on that. I'm in two minds. I'm not sure. I love the car. I think it's just a little bit drop of the price would make this even more appealing, but overall, yeah, it's pretty good. So the question I asked was, can you have fun in a car that has under 200 brake horsepower? And you certainly can. You do not need a lot of power. Any more than that, well, in this car in particular, oh, it could end up quite messy indeed. We've got a reasonable engine up front. It's got a lovely low centre of gravity, which means the handling on this car is very, very good indeed. We've got the torsen limited slip diff at the back. So everything about it, the driving position is wonderful, lovely hugging seats, small steering wheel, nice pedal feel, just everything about it is great fun. The smaller wheels on this, well, the smaller diameter tyres on this do make it a bit tail happy, but that puts even more of a smile on your face. It doesn't ever feel dangerous, it's very, very controllable. When you are pushing on slightly, like I said, you don't feel that you're going to lose control at any point. It's, well, I think it's brilliant. I've utterly enjoyed myself in this car. And I think on track it would be even better. Yes, some people think it should have more power. Well, you could buy one and put a turbocharger on it if you really do want more, or put bigger tyres, whatever it happens to be. But I think if you did that, it's not really the point of this car. To be honest, I don't think you get it. If you want 400 brake horsepower on a GT86, not the point of it really, to be honest. And on that note, guys, I'm going to call this video to a close. I've got to say a massive, massive thank you to SLM Toyota in Uckfield for lending me this rather fantastic car for the weekend. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video as well. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Comments are always welcome. And remember to click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.